Hello YouTube, and welcome to my first video in a series of TorqueX 2D videos. I'm going to show you some very basic stuff in this video. I'm going to show you how to create a TorqueX 2D project, how to make the player collide with the world, and how to simulate gravity. Before we begin, all I have installed on my machine is Visual Studio 2008. I have downloaded the TorqueX 2D engine. You can find it on torquepower.com. Go to Engines for consoles and more info on the 2D engine, and you can press download. The demo works as well, but it will stop working after 30 days. 30 days, I think. I have XNA 3.1 installed, and that's about it. So, to get started, you need to open your Visual Studio and create new project. And I have a lot of other stuff installed here. So we have this TorqueX GUI 2D and TorqueX Symbol 2D, and I'm going to show you the GUI 2D project. When you create a new project, you will be presented with this. It puts in some files for you, and you can see all it references is the TorqueX framework and the framework 2D. So right when you have created this project, you should be able to run it. Let's see. Oh yeah. And it runs. So it has a splash screen, some TX stuff, a title screen, and a main menu. And if we get into the game, it's a mind-blowing game where you can move this garage game logo. I can use the WASD keys or the arrow keys. Yeah. So when you've done this, you should be able to open the TorqueX Builder 2D. And click Open and find your project. It's the GUI 2D demo. This is the Visual Studio project. Go into Game TX Proj, and I can open the scene. And here is my player character. So this is the actual object that I'm moving. If I put it here, click Save and click Run, you can see the player starts in the corner and I can move it. So basically whatever I put in here starts in the game when I run it. So what I want to do now is to add some gravity to my object. And I do that by selecting the object and clicking the Edit pane up here. Under Components we can see, let me just like that, we already have three components on my player object. We have the collision component, a physics component, and a movement component. Now the collision component does makes this object collide with other stuff on the scene. It's there isn't any stuff here, so it's not able to collide with anything. We have the physics component, where I can set a mass on the object. Let me just put that to 15 right away. And a movement component that makes it respond to the keyboard input. I'll get back to that one in a minute. So we need to add another component to make the gravity work, and that is the force component here. The force component interacts with this object, so we can call that gravity. Minimum strength 1, maximum strength, I don't know, 5. And just click the Add here, and we can see this this force has been added to it. So let's go ahead and save that and run our project to see what happens. Absolutely nothing, but we can still move it. And the reason why nothing is happening is we have the force component added and the movement component, and it works in a way that the movement component actually overrules the force component. So if we go into Visual Studio, we can see we have a movement component.cs, and on the no, sorry, not that one. Here we go. We have a method called process tick, and that's a method that's run every time the engine needs to render a frame or a tick. And what it does is it moves our scene object on the X and Y scales, all depending on the input from either the Xbox sticks or the keyboard. And it also moves it on the Y-axis. We don't want movement on the Y-axis because we want our player to just fall down, and then we want to be able to control the player on the X-axis. So we outcomment the Y-axis part here, okay? And let's just run the game to see what happens. It starts to fall down and out of the scene. Notice that I could still control it on the X-axis. Let me just run this again. But I can't control it on the Y-axis. So now we have some kind of basic gravity enabled at the same time where I can move it on the X-axis. So let's make our player object collide with the world. Now I want to create some kind of ground here. I go to the pane create, and I want to create a new material. A material is basically just an image or anything that can be put in the scene here. So create new material, and I just need to find some kind of random image. I think I have, yeah, this one is good. Yes, copy file. Sure. And here I have my image. So I drag this into the screen. Oh, it's a pretty big image. And let me just scale this down here. When we've selected this one, we can go to the edit pane and see under components that it already has collision component enabled. So this means that anything can collide with this object. We have a small button here called edit this object's collision polygon, which means that unless we want it to collide with the edges of this object, we can edit and create a new collision polygon inside this one. And let me just make this some kind of funny shape here, like that, and just hit enter to get out. So if I save this, yeah, this happens every time we save new materials or stuff in the builder. The Visual Studio starts complaining it has been modified, and that's because of the XML file. I'll show you that just in a minute. Basically, Visual Studio asks if you want to reload these files, and yes, we do. We have a file, I think it's this torque. No, that's not the one. Yeah, this file is an XML file that the editor, the torque builder here, it edits. So when it's changed, the Visual Studio will kind of just complain. So we reloaded that file, and let's just hit run to see what happens. And we can see our ball is bouncing. It's colliding. Nice. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's not colliding with the edge of the red square. It's colliding with the polygon that I drew. Cool. Notice that the ball is just bouncing. It's not staying on the ground. If you want this to be a player, we want it to kind of stick to the ground and stay there. So if we close this and go to the builder, we mark our player object, go to edit,